Okay. Hello everyone, and welcome to the December edX Meetup. My name is Esteban Echeverri. I'm co-founder of Olasnio, and I am a member of the edX Marketing Working Group. And today we're going to host the last edX Meetup of the year. Right? So in today's session, we will feature three presentations. We will feature Rohit Ramanathan from Mathworks. Then we will have Madhi Verma from VTeamLabs, and finally, Jana Makowski from Tikri. After the presentations, you will be able to go to the instructor space and meet the speakers in the designated cafeterias and do networking with other attendees and colleagues. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping rules. First, please note that this webinar will be recorded, so if you don't want to appear in the recording, please turn off your cameras. And we will have a Q&A session after each speaker, so please write down your questions in the chat room, the room chat, while the presentation is being taken place or when it ends. And after the speaker finishes, we will be doing the Q&A session. Also, please be sure to mute your microphones to avoid any background noise. And I think that's it. So thank you for your cooperation and thank you for being here. Let's get started. The first presentation will be conducted by Rohit Ramanathan, an online course developer at Mathworks. Mathworks has supported edX and the OpenEdX project for 9 years and became an edX partner in 2021 to offer courses on edX.org. Mathworks provides comprehensive support for MOOCs and professional courses for instructors interested in integrated MATLABs through their courses. Rohit will be presented how Mathworks support programs help instructors adapt content from on-campus courses for online delivery using MATLAB, a programming and computation platform used by millions of scientists and engineers worldwide. Rohit, welcome to the edX Meetup. Please go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so thanks for the introduction, Esteban. So today I'll be talking about how Mathworks and our teams in online course development and course support help instructors transition on-campus STEM courses to online delivery and leveraging MATLAB for that. And so just a little bit about me. I have a PhD in material science and engineering from Northwestern University. And while I was there, I earned a teaching certificate from the Searle Center for the Advancement of Teaching and Learning. And I designed and facilitated engineering teaching assistant trainings for 3 years while there. I have nearly a decade of STEM teaching experience across the high school, undergraduate, and graduate levels. And I've been an online course developer at Mathworks for the last 2 years. And so here's a bit of an outline of my talk. So we'll first spend a little bit of time kind of doing a compare and contrast of on-campus courses versus online courses. And then some specifics, get into a little bit of some strategies for adapting material for online delivery. I'll talk specifically about the challenges that STEM courses face when making this transition and how we can leverage MATLAB effectively to address some of those challenges. Then I'll go into a demo / case study of some support that we've provided and how we can help instructors facilitate that transition from on campus to online, and then wrap up with a little bit of information about Mathworks course support programs. And so one of the activities that we're often engaged in as a team at Mathworks is helping instructors transition courses from on campus to online. So we work with a lot of university instructors that are want to leverage content that they already have before to bring their online course. And so it's helpful to kind of compare and contrast the two modalities on campus and online. So on the left, we'll see the on campus course, on the right, the online course. And I first want to start with some of the things that you would carry over between the two. And those are really those learning objectives and course examples. Those are the backbone of a course for an instructor. And so instructors often want to preserve those things because if they modify learning objectives and course examples, then they have to put in a lot more work to redesign the course to fit those new learning objectives and examples. And in the on-campus setting, instructors benefit a lot um, from various features of being on campus. So they know a lot more. They have a lot more context about what their learners know and don't know. Learners in their courses are often all in the same major. They've gone through some sort of common curriculum coming into their course, so an instructor has a good idea of what knowledge and skills their learners have and don't have when coming into their course, which can really help them choose what to put in and what they need to teach or don't need to teach in a course. Um, Similarly, on campus, everyone's on campus, and the learners are affiliated to an academic institution that can provide benefits to learners, like access to computer labs, software licenses, sometimes even funding for students to buy laptops and other computing hardware that they may need to take their courses. And obviously, on campus, you're teaching synchronously. Um, and one thing that I've noticed a lot in working with on-campus courses is that instructors generally see the LMS, their learning management system, mostly as a platform for sending messages and sharing files with learners. They're not thinking in that online the learning management system is central to the learning experience. So we can see that kind of in the online courses, it's somewhat pretty much the exact opposite, where instructors have to reckon with a much greater diversity in the academic background of their learners. They have a lot less context about what their learners know and don't know when coming into the course. In online courses, and especially MOOCs, which is a lot of what we support, the learners lack the benefits of that institutional affiliation. So they don't have the software licenses, they don't have the computer lab access, etc. And then you have to really think about when you're making this transition is that there's a lot more asynchronicity involved in online courses. And so you have to design intentionally for that asynchronicity. And then again, the learning management system becomes front and center to your online course. It's central to the learning experience. Learners go there first for everything in the course. And so you have to think very intentionally about how you're going to leverage the learning management system. And so two factors that I'd really like to dive into that significantly impact how you present an online course are one, learner diversity and or heterogeneity, meaning that you have learners coming to your courses from all over the world. They have a wide range of backgrounds and interests, and so you want to kind of think about how you can adapt your material to address this and make your course as relevant to as many people as possible. And then importantly, and what I really like to emphasize is that learners in online courses are free to enroll in them often without demonstrating any mastery of prerequisite knowledge. In the on campus setting, there's often mechanisms that exist to enforce those prerequisites. So you can say, um, you can pretty well assume that learners know the things that you expect them to know coming in. In the online course, you kind of have to throw that assumption out. And it's hard to make very clear assumptions about what learners know and don't know coming in. The second factor is asynchronous instruction. So in the online settings, learners often can enroll in and complete their online courses at any time they want. And they have an expectation that they should be able to complete courses with minimal staff intervention. They want to go at their own pace. They don't want to be waiting around for responses from instructors to continue. And so they feel like they should be as self-served as possible in these courses. And so how do you adapt for learner heterogeneity and asynchronicity? So for the first factor, really what you want to do is try to level set those learners so they can all participate in and succeed. And to do that involves providing some of those resources that learners can use on their own time to acquire that assumed background knowledge that or what you assumed was background knowledge in the online course that you can't really assume that learners know in the online course. For asynchronous instruction, suddenly you need to be a lot more explicit with the instructions that you provide to learners. So that way there's very little room for error on the learner's part. And that's includes how to access course materials like readings, assignments, software. And at the assignment level, really trying to scaffold your assignments to guide learners through them. Again, remove as much interpretation on the part of the learner as possible to make things as concrete and doable for them as you can. And I think that learner heterogeneity and diversity of the academic background of the learners really has a strong impact on STEM courses in particular, which is the focus of our support at MathWorks. Oftentimes, these STEM courses have an expectation that learners will write code to complete their assignments, but writing code is not the focus of the course. It's mostly a means to an end. So, a very common um, pattern that we see is that learners will be expected to write some code that'll generate a plot, and the plot is the important piece um, to the instructor, and they want to focus on how does the students interpret the plot within the context of the domain that the course is about. And this can be tricky in the online environment when there's potentially a large variance in the programming proficiency of the learners. So you need to think about, how do I get learners through this piece so I can focus on this, but instructors often don't want to be teaching the programming piece that's needed. And similarly, learners in on-campus or in online STEM courses have varying access to computational tools. Again, they're coming from all over the world, and some learners might be on very nice desktop computers with GPUs and have a lot of compute power at their hands. Other learners might be using things like laptops or even more modest Chromebooks. Some may be even trying to complete an online course on a mobile device. Um, and importantly, too, bandwidth is not uniform all over the world. And in some parts of the world, the need to download and install large software packages can be a barrier to getting started for a learner in an online course. And so, in speaking about the role of computation in these STEM courses, what you choose as the computation platform directly influences the learner's course experience. Courses on campus often assume familiarity with a computational tool, and in the on-campus environment, they can be pretty agnostic about what the tool should be. So it's not uncommon to see learners in an on-campus course working in a variety of programming languages. Some might be doing their assignments in R, others in Julia, others in Python. Some might be using MATLAB. And this is generally okay because there's a lot stronger peer community on campus. And so learners can rely on their peers who are probably using similar tools to what they're using for support if they need support on their tool of choice. In the online environment, a lot of that community doesn't exist anymore. And so you really want to try to pick a tool in an online course to ensure a uniform learner experience and make sure that you, as a course staff who is the primary support point for a learner, can support learners on a particular tool, and that you're not leaving a learner out to dry if they decide to use something that you on course staff are not familiar with. And on the online course development team at MathWorks, what we really want to help instructors do is make that choice be MATLAB and help them integrate MATLAB into their online course. And so how we do this is, if we're working with an instructor or a course team, is we'll examine the materials that they give us from their on-campus course. And what we would do is identify those tools and features in the MATLAB ecosystem that fit the needs of that course, and help to adapt and modify the presentation of that material to make the MATLAB experience as accessible to as many learners as possible. We at MathWorks have resources already created that can help to teach learners how to use MATLAB, so that doesn't fall on the instructor anymore, and you can reduce your dependence on MATLAB prereqs as an instructor. And we can also help you to adapt for adult and professional learners to eventually get to your Open edX course. And so now I'd like to jump to a little bit of a case study to make it a bit more concrete about how we actually work with instructors to make this transition. And so what I'm showing now is a pretty typical problem description from a physics course that was taught on campus. And so this problem focuses on the drag force and an understanding of the drag force, which is given by this equation where the drag force is proportional to the velocity squared of an object, and the proportionality constant is this thing, the effective drag coefficient. And in this problem, what the instructor does is they give the learners a data file, and they say, okay, I want you to fit this model here to that data file to find this value of gamma, that effective drag coefficient. And then once you have the value of the effective drag coefficient, problem 2 focuses on doing a follow-up calculation on that to find another parameter, this drag area. And that's the important thing that the course wants to focus on, is how do learners compute the drag area, and how do they compare that value against a table to determine whether this car that they're looking at is a high drag car, a low drag car, etc. It's mostly focused on this follow-up computation. And so to do this, learners are going to have to write some code to do some curve fitting. And the MATLAB solution looks like this. It's about 35 lines of code total, which for someone that doesn't know MATLAB or isn't very comfortable with programming can be a lot for them. And so we talked to the course team in particular, and we asked, is it important that learners write code to do this? How important is it that they actually do curve fitting in MATLAB using writing code? And the course team said it's not that important. We just really want them to somehow get the fit and get a gamma value here. And so with that in mind, we were able to propose something that is an app-based solution in MATLAB, and that involves learners being able to get this gamma parameter without needing to write any code at all. And so I'll swap over to MATLAB Online, which is our browser-based MATLAB environment that we provide to learners in these online courses that we support. And in MATLAB Online, what we can do is just double click a file to get the data that imported, those force and velocity data points, into our workspace. And then I can swap over to an app and not write any code, this curve fitter app, to get the fit. We just quickly select data, force and velocity, and then can use a custom equation type in the app and specify the form as the gamma parameter times x squared to get the line of best fit right away. And importantly, that gamma parameter and all my goodness of fit statistics. And so this is a lot easier. We've turned what was originally many lines of code that a learner may or may not know how to write into a point and click workflow that can get them the same answer much more easily. And so this is going to be a lot better for more learners that maybe don't have the programming knowledge needed to do the assignment in the scripting way. And so that's the app-based solution. And to walk learners through the app workflow, we can create this thing called a live script. And so a live script is a document that allows you to combine rich text, images, and code together all in one document. And so this looks long, but it's basically just walking learners through the process of using the app to get that fit parameter, the gamma, and their goodness of fit statistics. They can then record their solution in the live script here in these rich text fields. And then for the follow-up, which involves doing some math, we can provide this code block here that allows them to take that gamma value and do their follow-up computations. If learners are not familiar with how to use MATLAB to do these kinds of computations, we can link them out to a course that's called MATLAB On-Ramp. And this is a free interactive self-paced course that is available that we make available to learners. And I pointed them to the commands module in MATLAB On-Ramp, which I'll jump into right now. And what this will do is this will put us into an interactive MATLAB environment with some tasks that'll teach me how to use MATLAB like a calculator. So now I can start with task 1, which says to multiply 3 times 5. Okay, cool, and I got the right answer. Now I'm going to learn how I can store that in a variable. in the next one, I'll learn how I can use a variable in a computation, etc. And so by going through the tasks in this interaction, we can teach a learner what they need to know to complete this part of the problem. And then again, they can then record their solutions here, write their response to this question, and then have a file ready to submit for grading afterwards. And so the solution as staged in edX, we have to look at that is that what we do in edX is we'll create a problem description here, and then we'll point learners to click on a link to get the files that they need. And this uses MATLAB Drive, which is our cloud-based files storage platform, which is the file system of MATLAB Online. I can add these folders and copy them. And then after the copy, you'll see that that drag assignment folder is now available to me in MATLAB Online, and I can double click the live script and now start learning how to use the app to complete this problem. So I'll jump back to the PowerPoint now just to close it out. And so that's pretty typical example of how we would help an instructor adapt some material for online delivery and provide those resources to make sure that as many learners complete it as possible. We really feel that MATLAB and the low code solutions in MATLAB make it a great fit for a lot of courses, and it's used by many educators and industries to inspire and innovate, and we can use it to create those interactive and engaging simulations and visualizations. In particular, our online course development team has nearly a decade of experience of using our MATLAB tools in online courses. We supported over 160 courses as a team in 2020 across a wide variety of disciplines, from artificial intelligence to biology to signal processing. And if you're interested in incorporating MATLAB and Simulink in your courses, we'd really love to learn more and encourage you to visit our MOOC support program page or contact moocsupport@mathworks.com. And with that, I'd like to take any questions.
Well, thank you, Rohit, very much. It's a very interesting presentation. So I'm going to read the first question, but please, the rest of attendees, any questions on the chat room? Well, the first question is, how extensive is MATLAB on-ramp? How much time does it take to complete, or do you only point them to the section they need just in time?
So the MATLAB on-ramp course takes about 2 hours, and it really covers those fundamentals. So you'll learn loops, writing commands, calling functions, but not writing them. So it's really a fairly basic level course. And depending on what the needs of the course are, we might suggest to learners that they take the entire thing. Or if there's only one particular piece of MATLAB on-ramp that feels really relevant, then we can try to link to that section directly to do that just in time. So it really is in consultation with the instructor and the needs of the course that we decide how we would leverage the on-ramp courses.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's see if we have another questions. So here we have another question. But why is establishing prerequisites challenging for online courses?
So one thing is, so I've seen some data that suggests that even if you do establish prerequisite courses, especially in open platforms like edX.org, is that learners typically, there's a lot of, or a significant fraction of learners that do ignore them and enroll in a course anyway, despite the presence of prereqs. So especially somewhere like edX, where it's hard to, there's no mechanism to say you have to demonstrate certain knowledge before enrolling in a course. So without those mechanisms in place, that's where it becomes, you'll have learners enrolling despite not necessarily knowing everything that they need to know. And we as a course support team want to make sure that as many learners can take a course and succeed in it as possible, regardless of whether they've taken all the necessary background courses coming in.
Okay, great. So one other question: how long does it usually take to convert this from the on-campus course to the online course design? Is there a typical time frame, or it really depends on the project, or any
It can
reference that you
really
have?
depend on the project. In some cases, the material is pretty readily translated, and what we would typically do is help an instructor or provide a set of recommendations for one or two assignments in a course over the first maybe month or two of working with a course team, and then leave it up to the course team to kind of do the rest of the conversions and apply the techniques that we suggested and recommend and train them on for that. So I think a typical project hopefully is somewhere in the 1 to 4 months range, but we've seen things go much longer than that for very complex courses that have a lot of coding exercises in them.
Okay, great. So here's another comment. Actually, it's not a question. It's from Mary Ellen. She's providing some feedback about Mathworks. She's saying that if you're thinking of working with Mathworks, to use MATLABs in your assignments, I highly recommend it. They help a lot and develop these resources in response to instructor needs after seeing activities in their MOOCs. So it's great feedback, and it's great to know we have
Yeah.
feedback from the community.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mary Ellen.
Okay. So one other question. So the 1 to 4 months range, how big is the team that is creating the online course?
So that's highly variable. I think the longer it takes is usually when we have fewer people working on a course. So if we're just working with an instructor and they're on their own, then that's oftentimes something that they're working on through like a sabbatical semester, which is more in that 4 months, 6 months range. 1 month can be done if there's a huge team. Sometimes there's a lot of instructional design support that an instructor is getting, and there's like digital learning assistants that can help with a lot of the processes that speed things along. But typically, in terms of what Mathworks is doing, is that we'll assign one online course developer to a particular course for that. And then it's all about what's the frequency in which the course team is willing to meet with us, really dictates the timeline.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if you have any other question. If not, so let me thank Rohit. Thank you for your presentation and all your answers. And we will continue with the second speaker of the meetup. Okay, thank you, Rohit. So the second speaker will be will be conducted by Madhip Verma, CEO of VTeamLabs. VTeamLabs is an engineering and implementation and development partner with edX.org, and they do develop courses on OpenEdX on Azure, on the Azure platform. Madhip Verma will present the recent development, the FETP platform, founded by the CDC, WHO, ICMR, and iSafetyNet and VHS, which provides public health and global health security services through a mentoring and learn by doing approach to enhance the effectiveness of medical workflows and systems required to perform such services. Welcome, Majid, and please go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Esteban. Appreciate the opportunity to come here and talk to everyone. Hi, everyone. This is a great showcase for us to present what we have been able to accomplish in public healthcare. Thank you, Eden, for recognizing our work in this space. I have here with me my colleague Sujata and a couple of our team members in the audience as well. We will run a presentation now. And thanks, Rohit, for a great start to the day. I'll share my screen. So everyone here, we are here to present our field
Sorry,
epidemiology training.
sorry, Nadim. We're not seeing the presentation yet. Just
Oh,
make sure you select the correct screen and the share button.
all right. Let me just.
Okay. Yes, now we can see your screen.
Okay, great. So let me just. So yeah.
There you go. Perfect. Now we can see it.
Great. So field epidemiology training program is the acronyms FETP is a program which is run out of the United States, an entity called TEFINET, which is the administrative body supporting this program at a global level, wherein they study the science of pandemic. And the onset of the pandemic amplified the need for a solution aimed at providing accurate training, learning, accurate information in the age and DNA of what we hear a lot in the fake news and whatnot. We've all gone through this phase of the pandemic where people relied on sources of information from various channels and tried to keep up to date on what's the impact of the pandemic, from living based on their conditions and based on where they lived. And it was really chaotic, but I think the governments realized that there is a need to create a central program which is scalable, cloud-based, and online, so that up-to-date training information, necessary tools, platforms can be provided to help scientists, doctors, researchers detect and respond to outbreak investigations, disease surveillance, public health program development, and general public health services. So the need of the hour was it came in the 2020 timeframe, and then we got involved with the customer stakeholders out of India, and interestingly, this program was funded out of um, India with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare by CDC, and we are here to talk about that program. Just a little bit of introduction about VTeamLabs before we begin. We specialize in open source based learning, content management products and solutions. We are proud partner of Open edX at a global level. We're also partners with Microsoft and Amazon. Interestingly, we actually participated with Microsoft to bring Open edX platform to market in Azure in 2018. And in another interesting fact, post that we'll be doing a lot of work on AWS, which has been a great experience anyhow. Our mission is to leverage the platform that we specialize in, Open edX and education technology, to strive for differentiated workforce development needs, thereby creating lasting impact in our communities worldwide. Our team, a little bit about myself, having 25 plus years of experience in the industry, from business development to customer relationship to SAP ERP implementations, and being in IT consulting services for 25 years. I've founded VTeamLabs in 2016, and we've had a big pivot to EdTech in the past couple of years, and we'll talk about our case study shortly. Our team here, Ritiraj, Sujata, and Eva, form the core nucleus of our team. Our specialization in Open edX, most of you are already aware, fantastic experience of delivering solutions on the platform, bringing in that experiential learning, comprehensive theming capabilities. Empowering learners is the key aspect of how we look at the platform for our customers. And of course, API, LTI integrations, courseware design and development is another aspect that we've now launched into. And meeting accessibility requirements of our clients across the board. Some of the case studies, we've had the opportunity to implement a few more than what you just see here on this slide. This is just a snippet of our major and certain key customers across the globe. Marine Ed is a very interesting, unique case out of Germany. Microsoft, as I mentioned before. If anyone has any, I would be happy to share the case studies in separate email later on. Moving further along, as I just mentioned before, in the FETP platform, the onset of the pandemic amplified the need for this solution. We launched this platform in 2022, early this year. This platform has been built to address the online learning management system needs. And we are facilitating a lot of the trainings for the stakeholders from CDC, WHO, ICMR, which is Indian Council for Medical Research. They have a education wing called National Institute of Epidemiology, and a couple of voluntary health services organizations, SafetyNet and VHS. And communication, user authentication, all of it is managed through Microsoft Teams. It's running on AWS Government of India Cloud. Short video before, I think the next slide will have the video. Just a quick overview of the FETP program. It's a collaborative effort between CDC India and the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare to train public health workers in the field of epidemiology. The impact is phenomenal. It's still early days, though. We are getting the user adoption in India with this pilot program. This program has had the opportunity to be showcased at the Panama Global Public Healthcare Conference, which just concluded in September this year. This was the first in-person conference that TEFINET organized after the post-pandemic. And we are, and the CDC think tank in the US is also continuously involved, keeping themselves abreast of how the program's adoption is growing in India, which is where the major stakeholders are at this point in time. Of course, it helps to serve the need for detection and responding to the threats, addressing the severe shortage of skilled epidemiologists by bringing in the continuous learning modes of trainings, and building critical partnerships and relationships between various public healthcare professionals across the country. Has been a big impact so far. 3.5 minute video. Love to present this to you guys.
India's Field Epidemiology Training Program, known as India FETP, has been building public health capacity in India through competency-based on-the-job training in epidemiology since 2012. Officers can apply at one of the 3 FETP hubs, the National Center for Disease Control, ICMR's National Institute of Epidemiology, and the WHO India Country Office. Selected officers are registered in the Learning Management System, or LMS, by the course coordination team of each hub. As part of their training program, officers are required to complete core activities of learning, also known as CALs. To initiate each CAL, the officer enters the title under the relevant CAL in LMS. There are multiple steps in each CAL, with each step approved by the mentor. The system allows the officers to upload necessary supporting documents for CAL review. Each step in the CAL is reviewed and approved by the mentor in LMS. Upon completion of the CAL, the mentor approves the CAL, followed by approval from the course coordinator. At this point, the CAL is marked as done. LMS allows for 4 levels of logins: FETP officer, mentor, course coordinator, and the course lead. Once registered, each user is then provided access specific to their role. The platform also provides the option of organizing seminars and webinars through the integrated MS Teams software. For people joining a one-time meeting or webinar, there is an option to join as guests. Registration is not required. The platform also has the feature to record attendance. LMS also provides an option for self-paced learning. LMS hosts SCORM, which is Shareable Content Object Reference Model, modules developed around basics of epidemiology, study designs, surveillance system evaluation, and basic statistics, available to all registered users. LMS facilitates program management and ensures data security. India FETP course coordinators are required to monitor quality and program management. LMS simplifies this process through the creation of automated reports. In addition, a dashboard allows for real-time tracking of CAL progress. To ensure data security, hub-specific information is kept confidential. In the future, LMS will be a critical tool for accreditation by providing documentation of mentor-mentee interactions and documentation of mentoring of various CALs, including outbreak investigations. LMS was developed with a focus on officers and course coordinators. Built on OpenEDX, an open-source platform, it can be easily adapted. We believe LMS will provide opportunities for blended learning to more field epidemiology training program (FETP) learners. FETP platform, built on OpenEDX LMS for public healthcare endeavors, has been developed under guidance from NIE ICMR and US CDC through the Safety Net and Voluntary Health Services with technical support by VTeamLabs and is running on Government of India approved AWS Cloud. For more questions, please feel free to write us at
As you just saw from the video, the key salient features of the platform highlight the mentor-mentee experience that has been offered with synchronous interactions. Has been a great boon to the field epidemiologists who are tackling the pandemic in the remotest part of the country, and for them to be able to connect with their mentors, and not just within India, but also global. External content from global hubs getting integrated and being available to different stakeholders, different public healthcare professionals, authenticated and curated learning content through SCORM, being able to generate reports, mentees' code learning activities being a primary need, API integrations with Teams and HR platform, another great feature set. Live classes, webinars, as you're all aware, we continue to provide the Hypercare AMC platform support, maintenance and upgrades, and also the integrations with Lifelong account, basically the database of all the research, publications, thesis is another hallmark. And we'll let Sujata
Hello,
now.
friends.
I'm sorry.
Let me take you to
Sujata, would you want to walk us through the demo and the workflow scenarios of the platform?
Yeah, sure. So, since the platform has already been used by our clients, we cannot run a live demo for them, but we have a video for you that we have pre-recorded. So, here's a demo for you all. Do you want to play it?
FETP to know more about the learning platform built on OpenEDX. Hubs who are partners to India FETP Learning. Course catalog and other information. Hub-specific page with detailed information on courses and mentors is available. On clicking the menu on right side, we can access more options and notifications. In Profile section, we can see all information related to user and demographic and other technical skills. Dashboard option will take you to user main dashboard. where in course-wise details is available and options to see information office-based, CAL-based, meetings and webinars. In Officer-based tab, user can see Menti level details and their progress. Mentor can see Menti-specific information on clicking the View Details link. CAL-based tab provide information related to courses and its CAL. More CAL-specific information can be checked with View Details link. Meeting tab provide information related to mentor-mentee meetings and option to create new meetings. Webinar tab provide information on upcoming webinars and option to join along with report on past webinar. Let's check report menu. User have functionality to check detailed levels on multiple reports. Bulk email menu allow user to send notification in the form of rich text email to specific group of mentor, mentee, or external users. Now let's see profile section. Here user can see and update detailed information of his profile. Account setting allow user to change profile picture and login credentials. My Mentee provide detailed information on Mentee, assigned and linked to access Mentee dashboard. Mentor-Mentee discussion tab provide information on past discussion held and option to start new discussion. Coordinator dashboard provide detailed information on courses and Mentee. Kill request menu provide option to see kill requests initiated by Mentee to mentor and option to approve or reject the kill requests. Attendance and schedule provide option to see back reports on courses. User management menu provide option to create new users in LMS. Content management will take you to Courseware Studio. User can see the live course, which is available for Mentee. Multiple chapters with many files types like video, PDF, PPT, SCORM files can be played.
Hi, Madhu. Thank you for the demo video. Maybe you can share with us the link in the
Okay,
chat or later, and so that we have some minutes for the Q&A session. Okay.
definitely. And I believe our journey with healthcare has just begun. We are here to essentially create mission-based impact through partnerships with organizations that are focused on creating that learning and development experience for essential business services at scale. As a Catalyst 2030 member, recent member, we see collaborations to drive synergies. Love to have partners come along in alignment with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Proud to be partnering with Washington State Department of Commerce as we go present across the expos and medical and healthcare community is who we are more focused on at this point in time, given our experience in healthcare vertical. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Majib, and for you and your team for this presentation. Now, let's jump to the questions from the audience. We have a first question here. It says, are you using OpenEdX for synchronous one-on-one mentor and mentee interaction, or are you using other platforms like Zoom, Gather, email, Slack?
We use
Yeah,
we're using
that's one.
OpenEdX for synchronous interactions with our for the users that
Okay,
are
with the entry and with an integration with Teams, with Microsoft Teams.
that's right.
Okay, great. So another part of the same question, is that bulk email a feature provided by the OpenEdX, or is it something that you have augmented in OpenEdX? How much effort was involved in adapting OpenEdX to your final platform?
So yes, that's a good question. We are still working on it. It's a feature that our customers and I can get Eva on the podium if you allow. She's a software engineer and OpenEdX developer working on this feature set. And yes, we're tackling that problem statement right now. Eva, do you have any comments to add to that?
Key was actually we customized or developed for the client, and we took around. Are you asking the time period or how much time we took for that?
I think it's regarding the time and the, let's say, the amount of effort, right?
Yeah, so it took around 1 to 2 weeks for developing that app, that bulk email tab, and bringing that customizations, all those things, 1 to 2 weeks actually.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, Steve, I have another question. So, how many medical professionals in India does the FETP platform support?
Currently, 250 is what we know. They're trying to get to 1,000 users post
Oh,
this pilot. This is the pilot phase that we're in
okay,
right
great.
now.
So another question. So which is the integrational, the integration or technical approach used to register student attendance? I believe this is for uh, webinars or live meetings, right?
Can you repeat the question? Which is the
Yes, which is the integration or technical approach used to register the attendance of the students? I think this is for the webinars. Not sure if you take the attendance for the webinars or because there was an attendance report in one part of the demo. I think it's addressed to that.
Eva, you
For
would like to?
for webinars, we took attendance as it is a Teams integration. From Teams, we can get the attendance, right? So there we can take the attendance.
Okay, great. So one other question here from the chat: how many efforts or time frame it took in achieving overall customizations?
So for first phase of the project, and we launched in February 2022, we went live in February 2022. The first phase took us about 5 to 6 months. And we still have, of course, we're running the annual maintenance contract. There's some carried over development features, the backlog. We continue to build as we um, seek more adoption of the platform from our customers.
Okay, great. Then another question. So how did the FETP project came about? So in particular, how did they choose the OpenEdX platform? How was the genesis of the LMS selection? If you can share with us.
Sure, that's a great question. I think there's been a lot of technical, intellectual curiosity amongst the learners, amongst the users at the Indian Council for Medical Research, NIE, and the leadership over there has been actively involved in conducting research around different LMSs prior to picking or prior to taking a decision on OpenEdX. It has been a fantastic experience to get to know from them. And when they reached out to the global audience or the global OpenEdX partners for their internal internal platform adoption, I think the CDC was collaborating with ICMR and IE quite closely, and they kind of partnered in this effort and shared the understanding and the expertise and the knowledge. And CDC decided to go with what the Ministry of Health and Family, with what ICMR and IE suggested, and that has been a great collaboration with between the two continents. Literally giving this platform such a great showcase in public healthcare space.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's all for now for the Q&A session. So thank you, Madip,
Thank you
and
all.
all the VTeamLabs team. Thank you for your presentation and your testimonies. And
Sure.
now
Thank you so
let's now we have Gina Makowski, and she will provide her presentations, the updates on the OpenEdX product roadmap.
Thank you, Esteban. Let me share my screen here. So I'm Jenna. I'm the product manager for OpenEdX at the Center for Reimagining Learning. And I'm sorry to report today that I don't have a PowerPoint. But this was a very intentional decision because I want to use these meetups, like this space, as a regular monthly touch point to begin to introduce to the community some of the bigger product artifacts and some of the different projects that we're working on creating as we build product management infrastructure across the OpenEdX community. And so I intentionally want to keep all of the attention on these artifacts and projects themselves rather than a PowerPoint. And so last month, like Esteban said, we talked about the community roadmap last month, how it's organized, how it's evolving. We'll link to that in the chat for anybody who missed last month's presentation. This month, I want to pick a project that is on the roadmap and do a bit of a highlight or a deeper dive into the project and that particular project, how it's evolving. And that project this month is the Modular Learning Initiative. And so this is a project that TCRL is funding. We're currently working with OpenCraft on it. And the high-level goal is to bring more flexibility to the course authoring process, and also to create more diverse options for everyone to be able to create different types of learning products in addition to courses. So we're currently we're in the first phase of this project. I was very intentional about wanting to focus on product documentation first in this phase. And I realized that when I say product documentation, that may have a little bit of a different connotation. I know we use the documentation around like technical documentation, but in the case of product documentation, there are specific artifacts that we like to create at the beginning of the product process around product discovery, market research, feature scoping. And I wanted to make sure that we took the time with this project to do that product documentation thoroughly, to involve the community as well. And we're at the stage now where we can start to share this documentation because we want to open it up for feedback from everyone here and everyone across the community. So we're about 75% complete from that first phase. Like I said, the first goal was to create the documentation to kind of drive the project. And I want to introduce and sort of present today one of the documents that came out of that first phase, which is the approach memo, which is the document that I have here on the screen. Can everybody can see this? Yeah, cool. So this document lives in the Open edX Product Management Wiki, which is the space that we'd like to use as the central place to store all of our product documentation and research and market feedback and user stories and everything of that nature. So that's where this document lives. And approach memos are a common type of product documentation that product managers like to use at the beginning of products, new features, new developments. The goal of the memo is to provide kind of a high-level view of what the initiative is, what the project is, why it's important, what the impact is, and to tie the user stories to the impact of the project. And so for modular learning, you can see that this document contains a couple of different sections. There's a summary of the initiative, which I'll describe here in a moment. There is a list of the problems or opportunities that the project will solve. There is an explanation of the data, so that we want to make these projects very data-driven. So using data from users, using data from all of you in the community to help us make decisions about new features that we develop. So there's user stories are part of this data journey. And then finally, there's a high-level overview of the proposed approach to the solution for the initiative. So in the case of modular learning, the goal is to really make every level of the course outline independent and composable. So the idea that any part of the course could be reused, any part of an Open edX course can be used in another course. Eventually, we want to get to a point where we can share any part of the Open edX course with other courses. And then ultimately to even deliver smaller segments of Open edX courses as standalone units. So just one of the phrases that I loved from one of the instances that I interviewed during the market feedback, a professor from WGU said he wanted to see us bust apart the course in structure. And I think that's a really good illustration, sort of mental image of how we're envisioning evolving authoring on the platform. And so in terms of what this will do, ideally this will reduce time spent on course creation because people can, instead of having to recreate courses, we can share content between courses more easily at all levels of the course. We want to diversify the authoring experience, so we're not relying solely on just the course structure. We want to offer more flexible pathways to design modular learning pathways. And we want to position the platform to more readily integrate with adaptive tools and services, or to even create opportunities for people in the community to build their own adaptive services. So this will, we think, fix a number of problems or pain points that have existed in the authoring and delivery experience, obviously around course reuse, being able to export content. I don't want to read through all of this word for word because it's available for everyone to take a look at, but just to give you a high-level view. But I think the main idea is, like, in the long term, we want to be able to unlock opportunities to deliver more besides courses, right? Other types of learning sequences, other types of learning products. If you're interested in digging more, we have links to all of the user stories for this project in here as well, so you can dive more deeply into the more granular use cases that we found for this. And in terms of the sort of next steps for this project, we are envisioning this evolving over a phased approach. We want to be very iterative and we want to take a learning-based approach to how we implement this. So we want to be able to create an MVP, learn from that MVP, and then take those learnings and apply them to future phases. But that being said, though, we kind of have an idea of how the phases will evolve and what order they need to happen in a way that makes sense chronologically. So in the first phase, we are working with content reuse. We're developing a copy and paste kind of clipboard solution or new feature. So that's currently in progress. We've got wireframes for that as we speak that are being created. The second phase shifts attention to content libraries and really builds on the work that's been done in BD14, but expands the idea of content libraries to be the place for authoring modularly. So you want to build any level of the course or any type of content sort of from the ground up outside of the course structure. What we envision being able to do that in content libraries. Also see content libraries as the place to organize content. We want to build in tagging and taxonomies and organizational infrastructure, file management, all that sort of thing. So we see that as part of phase 2, expanding content libraries sort of to their full potential. Phase 3 is around enhanced accessibility frameworks, so really focusing on the LTI consumer element. I know we've had a lot of requests for things like an LTI catalog. Also looking at integrating adaptive, third-party adaptive services and tools. The fourth phase gets more into actually delivering modularly. So we've heard use cases like, we would just want to build, say, 500 tiny units and have those searchable so students can put together their own learning sequences based on the competencies that they want to achieve. So looking at how we can have that deliverable. Phase 5 is around the idea of like a master courses, main course templates, and children courses. I see this as sort of CCX 2.0. And then phase 6 is around actually being able to share content. So once we have the infrastructure in place from the earlier phases to reuse content, we envision workflows to be able to share it, share content between instances, between organizations more broadly. So like I said, these are all intended to be very iterative. We are currently in the grooming stage for phase 1. And if you want to dive into all of this on your own time, we've got a technical approach document that is available. We've got the design documents available. We're also starting to look at some discovery work for the phase 2 around evolving content libraries. So we've got a number of like approach questions that are kind of open, starting to think about how we might design these things. So this is all available. And I guess the big idea that I wanted to get across and convey in this presentation today is that we're intentionally doing all of this product research out in the open. We want everybody to be able to follow along with this project as it evolves. We want you to know that it exists. And we want you to get involved, right? You can see here on the technical approach document that we've got over 24 comments from people across the community. Some of these comments have started some really interesting threads about how we might implement some of these ideas or sort of influence how we're thinking about the design. So please, take a couple minutes to look at this documentation. I think this project has a lot of really exciting implications for how we evolve Open edX over the coming months, 6 to 12 month timeframe, and we want you to be involved. So take a look at the documents, feel free to jump in with comments, and I'm happy to answer more questions as well.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jenna. Please, questions for Jenna in the chat room. I have one. Why has Tricreal decided to heavily invest in the modular learning project?
Yeah, so it was sort of a multifaceted decision, right? There's on one element, it is, we think, pushing the platform in a way, like an innovative way that no other LMS or authoring environment is likely to do. We're hearing in terms of feedback from stakeholders that there's an interest in, being able to author in a more flexible way. So on one hand, we were thinking about it from like, we can sort of make a bet on a more innovative project and focus on that. But the added benefit that we saw as we started to do the user research is that in the process, we could actually fix a lot of like immediate pain points that have come up that we've collected on sort of the roadmap backlog over time, like easy things like being able to reuse a section in one course in another course. So it seemed like a win-win in terms of being able to invest in an area that's sort of on the cutting edge in terms of new authoring workflows and delivery workflows, but also being able to fix some immediate things and immediate weaknesses on the platform in the process. So
okay, that's great. Thank you for that. Now has come a tough question. When will you think when will these features become available for integration?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are so like I said, we're currently working on grooming the MVP. We have a project board for this as well, which is linked here. And this is going to be probably the best place to go for everyone to keep ahead of what's actually in progress. We're working on the wireframes right now for the MVP. And once we get those wireframes done, we'll be able to get a more concrete estimate for, we've got the MVP divided into sort of 5 milestones. I think we're like a very, very high level general estimate is that we're hoping that this MVP will take somewhere between like 3 and 6 sprints, depending on the amount of, we want to make sure we build in feedback loops. We're putting together user testing groups so that we get a lot of input on this as we develop it. But this board will be the place to go to keep track of this as we evolve it. And we'll try to align things with the names releases as soon as they're available.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Not sure if we have any other question. Well, the feedback in the chat is that people is very glad that this initiative is moving forward, right? So great feedback for that. And if we don't have any other question for Jenna, we can continue and we can now move to the unstructured networking area, the main room and gather. So you can follow the different carpets. Carpet E is going to be for Rohit and Mathworks and MATLAB. Carpet D, you will find the VTeamLabs team. And in carpet C, you can find Jenna. Well, you can continue with the Q&A or just continue with the networking with other assistants. As a final reminder, remember that everyone is welcome to collaborate in the OpenX working groups. We're going to share here in the chat the link to know all the working groups that are open in different areas. And also, it's a good opportunity to invite you to the OpenEdX in-person event conference of 2023. It's going to take place in the MIT in Boston, the United States. So remember that registration is open and the early bird discount is available until the 6th of January, right? So keep that in mind. Thank you for coming to the December OpenX Meetup. And well, let's meet in the unstructured area and have a nice week for everyone. Thank you.